Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm hearing a lot of music in my headsets right now. Can't hear myself, but hey, good evening or good afternoon, I should say. It's only 4 o'clock Central Time. My name is Clifton Johnson. I'm the founder and the executive director of the Empower Series, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Dexter Evans, and we're going to have a conversation because this month is Home Ownership Month, and I'm going to talk about some history as to how we met. Dexter was a 2019 Empower Series panelist back in April, where he was talking with a few other panelists about their experiences with a financial advisor. But before I get into that, I want to say that the Empower Series is presented by Comerica Bank, as well as brought to you through your generous donations that you've made either through our website or by texting GIVE or donate to our text number of 214-225-6337. Without your generous donations and the charitable foundation grant from Comerica Bank, we couldn't be bringing you these quality programs and pointing to our community. But with that being said, I do want to introduce you to my friend, Dexter Evans. So Dexter, how you doing?
Greetings and salutations. Thanks, Cliff, for having me. Unfortunately, my sound is out.
Yeah, my sound is out too. So I hope we can hear each other. I hope they can hear us, right?
We can hear each other.
But I want to talk to you, man. First off, I want to appreciate you taking time off of your busy work schedule to be here with me. I know that you blew the house out when you were promoting the event, and at the event, talking about your experiences with financial advisors. And we met back in 2004, 2005, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
So one of the things I want to say is that, Dexter, you've been very instrumental to me in our relationship by me being able to bounce ideas off you, and the concept of the Empower Series, which started in 2011, really came out of not only your input, but a number of other people that I was working with, just encouraging me to step out on my dreams and my goals. So as I listened to you and your aspirations, I was giving you advice, you were definitely doing the same back to me. So I want to thank you for that.
Hey, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. I appreciate it. It's people like you, Cliff, that kind of refresh the thoughts of what many of us know we should be doing. But the difficulty is sometimes you just don't find the motivation because saving and planning is not as sexy as most of us think it should be.
Right.
So therefore, the difficulty comes in being accountable to ourselves. And so looking to have someone there for you to push you and to create a strategy is most helpful. But some of us just have a hard time committing ourselves to that process.
Yeah.
So for you, working with me, it was truly a blessing because you just catapulted me continuously to another level for me to believe and dream more about what I think I can make come true. So seeing you blossom and seeing you bring this vision to fruition, it's really remarkable that you now give so many people a platform and you really have a chance to excite and motivate so many more people. So I'm appreciative to be a part of it. I'm fully supportive. And I see this being something of a platform that can help so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And that's where I think the blessing is in that.
So here's what I want to do. I want to give you a platform because I think you have a very inspirational story. I know that at our workshop back in April, and if you guys want to see it, you can go to our YouTube channel and just look for the April Financial Literacy program that's out there with Mark Howard. But one of the things that you shared is that you've been working with a financial advisor for 25 years. You first was introduced to that by a mentor of yours when you were in college.
Yes.
And I think when we met, you were on your third financial advisor at that point in time.
Yeah, third.
And you were implementing a strategy. I won't put too much of your stuff out there, but you were implementing a strategy. I think you had at least 2 properties. You were living in a house, or that you had a house that you were renting out.
Yes.
And since then, you've been able to acquire more property by buying a home, and then when you move and buy another one, you would not sell the one that you had and you would rent that out. So you built up a pretty big, a sizable real estate portfolio so far, and not making a whole bunch of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what I think is I want you to share some of your experiences with our audience to let them know that no matter where you start, as long as you have a vision, and regardless of your current reality, but you're just holding true to that vision, surrounding yourself with other people who think differently than you. Share a little bit about your story, about what you've experienced, and thank you. I can now hear myself. Right. Share a little bit about your experience and what you've learned through that process.
Sure. So, as you remember, on my third financial advisor, because my mentor asked me a few simple questions. How are you building your credit? And what are you doing to plan for your future? Mm-hmm. And it felt uncomfortable at first because I really felt, as a young, recent graduate, what should I be doing so much to plan for a future? Because I thought the idea was to get a good job, make a good salary, and then at that job, you'd start saving in your 401k plan or whatever other vehicle or instrument they'd allow you to contribute. So meeting these different people who had all these moving parts helped to educate me. I could very well be doing something right now with a smaller salary, and it give me some idea that it starts this way. So for my mentor and for meeting persons like yourself, it was just a matter of you sharing with me sometimes other clients you worked with who had similar situations where there was very minimal amounts to invest, but they started. Mm-hmm. So with that, I just said, if I could get one house, and it was all about me being able to be a resource for my family, that my mom could stay with me, and if my sister needed me, she could very well stay with me. But that's because I'd never really had anything. So from that standpoint, I reached out to a financial advisor who just kind of gave me some building blocks of saving to within your checking account, saving to yourself every month towards your savings in another vehicle. But it was not until I met you that it really, you took it to another level that made me recognize I can see some things happening now. So the vision started where I would listen, but then I thought I could implement a few things that could help me. Taking the small amount of resources I had, being that at that point, I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. So instead of creating debt, you had always shared with me the idea of making use of what you do have when you can. Mm-hmm. So taking advantage of that time, just in the back of your head, you'd say, okay, if you're saying, interest, compounded interest and savings and putting these small nuggets into a box and then trying to put another basket in it would give you a chance to expand your portfolio. And I truly said, well, from a financial portfolio perspective, I only thought monetary. And when I started hearing other conversations and people talking about investing in small companies, investing in real estate holdings, investing in business development, and investing in something of a business plan that could be sold, or creating something that could be, when you develop a platform for a device, or what does George Foreman say? At Viniac, if you have
George Foreman.
Yeah, George Foreman's commercial about if you have an idea that you created for a patent.
Oh, patent. Okay,
yeah. So still again, just learning that there are so many vehicles and so many ways you could start creating wealth, or just creating something of a vehicle that could help grow your money. So I took the opportunity to say, I'll try in real estate. I'll buy one house and see where it goes. All I kept hearing was equity. It's a safe bet because the American economy is built on us and our real estate holdings, or to have a home. And so I just took that platform and I just took a risk or two, held on to the one property, moved to another state. The job I had at the time, I was only making $50,000 a year. Yeah. And so having two properties truly stressed me out. But I thought, if I don't take this chance now, when I have no kids and no wife, when am I going to start this process? I can't wait to believe that, my salary will be six figures someday and I'll get big bonuses and it'll start to develop. But what you were teaching me still again, and what I was learning from the other financial planners, was it's now. Because it's not when, it's not asking yourself, well, let me take a little more time, let me build some things up, let me wait till that assignment is given to me where I get a promotion or I get a bigger. No. The time is now. That's what you and I started to work with, and that's how you started to push me to believe that it's right there on the tip of my beginning. I need to start now. So that's all I did. I rushed into it, bought the first property. The company says move out of town. A cost of living increase took place. I bought another property. It was tight. It was macaroni.
Because you had to keep the other one, and you were renting it out, right?
Yeah, renting it out. Yeah. Had the the ramen noodles and the macaroni and cheese. Trying to make sure you can stretch, but it was all because I had a vision, and I knew with this something could come of it. Well, still again, here we are now, just taking some of the principles of what you and I had worked on, and there's just building those blocks of steadiness, those blocks that help to create a platform for you to say, I'm covered in insurance. I'm covered with short-term insurance. I'm covered with having at least a will and testament, and having a savings account, having an IRA, having a 401k. All of that was a part of the portfolio pieces that you and I had worked on. And I'm glad to say, taking those steps have proven to be a masterful plan that we put together that has worked very well for me.
Well, I want to back up because you were saying that you first was introduced to, told to meet with a financial advisor when you were in college. Mm-hmm. How old were you?
I was about 19.
19 years old, yeah. Right? So you didn't have a house.
Didn't have a house.
You were working for what, McDonald's?
Yes.
Okay, worked for McDonald's.
Yep.
Had a savings account, right?
No. No.
So talk more about that, because I don't care what age you are.
Sure.
Whether you're working, you're making 50 or less, or if you're working, making more, but then you don't have a savings, sure, have a lot of debt, or if you're a student in college, sure, no matter where you are. I want to talk about when you were a student in college and you were first told to meet with a financial advisor. It wasn't on your radar.
Nope.
You had all of the reasons in the world not to meet with a financial advisor.
Correct.
Tell me more about your thought process then, why you went ahead and followed the guy's advice, and then after meeting with the financial advisor, what kind of vision did you have, sure, before you had any of the stuff that you're talking about now?
Pure faith. I believed in what he was saying because of what he had. Now, as shallow as it may seem, most of us in our communities, we want to see what you have. Mm-hmm. But he very simply explained to me, it didn't start here, what you see now. It's a very arduous process. It takes time, and it takes a number of years to save and to get where we are. So he says, don't look at what I have, look at what I've built. So let's start from the beginning. And he was the first person that sat me down and showed me some policies that they started when they were in college, mm-hmm, that then has turned into a much larger amount based on monthly contributions. Right. So I started from there and said, okay, let's go ahead and try to start my savings account, because that was the convincing part. Otherwise, Cliff, you're right. Fear, uncertainty, heard so many different stories from so many different mentalities. Banks steal your money. Right. The best place to keep your money is under the bed, in the mattress, baby. Right, that's right. Or to really try a credit union. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, credit unions have now become much bigger, but back then they were very limiting because there weren't a lot of locations you couldn't get access to your money. And I had dreams, and I believed that I wanted to have access to funds for different reasons. Back then, the reasons were very limiting, but I had this idea that I think I would want to have multiple locations so I could have access. I mean, that truly was my vision. And so he would set me down, have conversations with me about the hardships of just staying focused, month in, month out. You have to stay focused. And if you want this to work, it's only you who you hold accountable, not anyone else. You can't come back and say the banker didn't do right this month because he didn't take from my money. I have to contribute. So once I made the conscious effort to say monthly, I will make contributions, it started to really make sense because I could see those statements come in every month, and there was growth. There was a small amount of growth that gave me the belief that I can do this. Yeah. And so working at McDonald's, you meet managers and you say, okay, I want to be a manager one day. Right. So you were always trying to plan for the next level, right? Mm-hmm. And then I realized I don't want this. I appreciate it and I respect hard work because I've done it all. From cleaning up the stalls and from working in the kitchen, sweeping floors, a night closing late at night till 2 a.m, back-breaking labor that I recognized. It helped me to appreciate where I wanted to go. Didn't have a reason to run from it. I just thought I wanted a bit more. I wanted to make a difference on another level. It wasn't that I thought where I was something that was beyond me or beneath me. It certainly was a part of the building blocks to help me understand about how I can make a day in and day out process work. That's where it started because I went to McDonald's 4 days a week, walked across campus Monday, Wednesdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And sometimes they'd give me Sunday off. So it was just saying to myself, if I can go to work every day, why can't I contribute to myself from those paychecks. So if I had to work a few extra hours, let's do that. So from there, Cliff, my mentor just continuously asked me questions about, well, what do you have plans for the money you're saving? Because what happens most of the time is once we see a certain amount, we find ways and ideas of how we want to spend it.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's where I said to myself, I'm going to differentiate myself from any parts of where I come from and making too quick decisions, hastily spending the money. So I just said, let me see if I can hold on to what I have, because the job I have has been pretty secure. So I know I can get extra hours. I know I can work a little bit more. But until I finish this degree, let me see what I can do with it. And I just absolutely took note of just being patient, calming myself down when I recognized I wanted some things and I felt I deserved it, and I felt it, all this hard work, I should get something from me. But I just kept saying, but I come from nothing. I didn't have very much.
Right.
So it was fun to just say, well, some of the more key pleasurable things in life are free. Beautiful sunshine, a beautiful day, playing in the park with some of your friends, and sports, tennis, basketball, being able to walk in the park. Some of those elements were so very fascinating and fun, because you're now living in an area where the development was getting bigger each decade. There were just all these new developments, new growth, new homes, new corporate offices, and you felt like this is a beautiful part of life where I can at least experience some things that doesn't cost me anything. But most of us concentrate on, like, once again, how can I spend this money to celebrate my achievements or to celebrate what I think I deserve, as opposed to how can I educate myself more and how can I empower myself more, there goes that word, to do better and to push myself beyond what I thought I could do.
Well, that brings up a point, man. I talked to someone at the Small Business Development Center the other day. I was talking about a business concept I wanted to start. And he said most people, and we were talking about business planning, and most people, he says, you look at an industry that makes a lot of money. Let's say it's millions of dollars, or it's, making a lot in real estate, making a lot in stock, or cryptocurrency, whatever it is. And then they identify the activities that is needed to do it. So they jump into starting a business or creating an LLC, and they start doing activity. So you have this result that people see. They see the actions that lead to the results, and people just jump in and start doing the action. But he says, but there's a step before the action called being. Like, who are you? Mm-hmm. What is your being? And you mentioned a few things about this. You talked about having a vision. You talked about being focused. You talk about having a mentor. And you're talking about really, before you start acting or before you understand the meaning of the consequences of your actions, whether you should even be doing the actions itself, you have to have a vision.
Sure.
And most people don't know, or they're not really making progress, or the progress that they could make is because they really don't have a clear vision of what it is they want.
Sure.
And they know where they are. It's uncomfortable. So you probably had some coaching along that line with your mentor. Mm-hmm. And when you look at where people are today, and the Empower series is about always empowering people. It's not just about financial literacy. It's really about being a good steward of the ideas that we have, because every idea, if you act on, can be the idea that can turn your life around financially. What do you feel, given your experiences, are the things that you would want to share to people to really help them build the foundation of who they're being before they just jump into doing a bunch of actions?
Sure. Of course, a strong sense of faith in yourself, a belief that there are people that will support you, and there is a community of other thinkers that you could be around to hear some of their stories. Let's be clear. Most of us have this sense of, yes, I know I want some things in life, and I know I want to do something different. I don't know where to start. I'm not certain how it looks. And I've never met anyone, for the most part, that can convince me of some of those elements, because I'm thinking outside of the box, but I think going outside the box may be more difficult than I really expect, because all we do most of the times is equate a financial piece to it and how much money it takes to do what we think we want done. So that I had to get away from thinking financially with regards to material goods, because I didn't understand the investment part of being true to myself and taking chances on myself. That was the part that I think the being part was faith in yourself and having enough faith to invest in yourself. So one part of it was some type of education. Secondary education, I mean, it's not for everyone. College is not for everyone, but you must do research. You must ask questions. You must find those who you feel represent something that is similar to what you do have in the back of your mind. So my mentor, we met one time, and I wouldn't let him rest. I kept going to him to ask more questions. I would sit at his office, and it'd be during his consultation hours. I would just sit there until he'd finish with a student, and then I'd get to ask more questions. How did you? Where did it come from? What makes you this way? What drives you to get up in the morning to do this, right? Like when I met you, here we are today. I still stay on you, asking you questions. Well, Cliff, what about this? And when you say, hey, Dexter, I'm going to put myself in this situation to learn more about this. Are you interested in learning? Yes. It just takes a sense of I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to hearing someone's information, story, strategy. I'm open. That's another part of it. But faith in myself helps to guide that process. Because if you don't believe in you, no one else has the responsibility to see to it that your dream comes true. Right? So I truly could say for most, it's just, even those you've had who speak for the Empower series, listening to their thought process to begin was something they knew inside of themselves that kept urging them, find a way, talk to someone, ask questions, attend this event, read this little article here, read this paragraph, read a book. Get enough information that supports something you're interested in, and then start trying to find a way. Because I'm a living testimony that there is nothing you cannot accomplish if you really want it and you can make a way. Not everything will come your way, not everything falls into place, but it certainly is that most people who have started this journey, because of their faith, things can come together. Things will provide an opportunity. It's up to you to act on it. It's up to you to decide you want to do it. But fear, you have to leave that behind, because fear will stifle you. Fear will create the negative energy in you that questions other people. All the while, you know truly yourself, that being wants something different. And I just couldn't see myself not taking a chance. I was very afraid. Like I said, I didn't have anything, so I kind of had to just ask myself, what can I lose? I don't have anything. What can I lose? How could this be? How could it be bad? But the process and the people really made things come together. But I'd always felt good about me. I always felt good about betting on me. But sometimes I felt, okay, I'm gonna be a little conservative, right? But when I meet others from other states, like you'd been in Los Angeles and Washington, Atlanta, and different cities. So right off the bat, here I am, a little small country kid thinking, how are you so confident? Why are you so comfortable to go to different states and don't know anyone? But all the while, I'm that personality. I just never had the opportunity to present it to me so that I then can take it on. And I just, from there on out, I just said to myself, what's the worst that could happen? I can always go back home and work at Walmart. Right? I can always go back home to mama's house. So once we know that safety net is there, sometimes most of us can go on and fly and spread our wings.
Yeah, a couple of things. We had last week we had Calvin Golden, the guy who franchised Wingstop, and he was talking about fear is the one thing that stops us. And he said, if you think about it, not jumping out and starting this business that you have or whatever it is, what's the worst thing that can happen? And he said the worst thing that can happen is that you'll go back doing what you're doing today, right?
Right.
So he says, so if that's the worst you can happen, you living your worst life now.
That sounds like a title to a song.
Right. But what you said is, college is not for everybody.
Sure.
I would add to that, though. Education is a prerequisite for everyone.
Sure.
So it may not be college, but it's some type of reading and some type of, meeting with people. Like you sat with your mentor, and you just kept peppering them with questions. Right. And so I would say finding a mentor. For people who may not have a mentor in their circle, you mentioned going and looking at the previous speakers at the Empower series.
Absolutely.
So if you go to the YouTube channel and just look at the previous speakers, if there's any of the speakers that you want to connect with or reach out to, then just put a comment down there.
Right.
You know, and that speaker would be more than happy to reach out to you. And you can have a mentor and not even have a relationship with them. You can just look at all of the videos about them on YouTube.
Exactly.
And they can be your mentor.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Some of the hardest parts is seeing a lot of those who we feel are very successful. It's very difficult to break it down and try to say I can get to where they are. So once again, just like you were saying, those elements of start first with you and your being to move yourself to a level that makes you comfortable, not to try and duplicate or reach someone else's level. Do what makes you comfortable, and then you carve your way out. Because all I thought was what my mentor shared with me. I never thought I would reach those levels. Mm-hmm. But I had something in my head based on what he shared with me that I said I can at least set forth a path to say I can try to get as much of that or attain as much of that goal that I can. And then I start realizing my circumstances are different. I'm not him. Where he's been and where he wants to go, it's not my goal. It's not my dream. And that's that part I started to realize how exciting it was that I've met a mentor who was willing to share with me his story. But his story was shared to help propel me to move into my own personal spot. Yeah, right, to create my own story. And that's what the beauty of being a very positive, neutral mentor is about. Because sometimes mentoring almost sounds like parenting. Mm-hmm. But the mentors who really understand how to put it out there for a person to take the information and then to do with it what you will. As people in first generations would say, baby, I'm going to tell you something. Now, you can do with it what you want to,
right?
But I'm going to tell you this is what you should think about. Now, that's what my mentor would always position it, is that he would tell me something about creating credit. He would tell me something about starting a savings account. He never told me, you better do it. He would just say, I'm going to share with you the benefits or the advantages. Now, it's up to you to see it or not, but that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah,
and he'd step away.
Do with it what you will.
Do it what you will. And those things I think are important pieces to it.
Well, the other thing that is interesting about your story that I think other people can relate to is where you started is nowhere close to where you are right now.
Absolutely.
But yet you had a vision.
Right. And
you had focus. So there's a book called The Science of Getting Rich.
Sure.
That was written by Wallace D. Wattles. And there was another book called, he wrote another book called The Science of Being Great, The Science of Being Well. So there's common principles in all of his books. And one of the principles he said is one of the difficult things that we have to do in manifesting this vision we have is to truly believe, and you talked about faith, but truly believe in the vision that we have regardless of our current circumstances. Because most people, if we have a goal, anything that's created didn't exist. It only existed in somebody's imagination.
Correct.
And so you had to believe in your imagination regardless of anything else that's around you. And there's a lot of discouragement. It could be your family. It could be your friends. It could be like, you want to be out of debt and you're like all up in debt. Right. You want to buy your first house and you have bad credit, but you have to believe in that vision you have regardless of your current situation, which is usually the hardest thing to do.
Sure.
Because we're so attracted by what we see, and then we are so critical on ourselves.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. It was very important that I continuously put myself in circles of just positive energy. Mm-hmm. Because the negative was there. Yeah. The negative reinforced the fear. The negative conversations reinforced the belief that it won't happen. And therefore, you started to have these manifestations of negative events that really start to set you back. And then you would just say, forget it. I'm going to stop pushing for this thing that I think could happen. It's a dream, but I'm okay. Let's deal with reality, and I'm just going to do what I know I can do. So there were so many times I would just say, I don't need a house. I'm by myself, so I don't really need a house. And then you'd hear people say that you'd be foolish to get them folk all your money to have a home that you could lose. Mm-hmm. You would take that to heart, and then the fear would set in. But I said, wait a minute. Why do you have to lose? And so I started reading some of the real estate books, and then I'd start asking my mentor questions. Why did you buy the home you bought? Why did you buy a house everywhere you lived and worked? having that being told to me, and then I started to identify there are certain key factors about what type of life or family environment you want. And what they always shared with me is that they were a unit. And within that unit, they shared ideas. They looked at certain elements that may not work the best for the unit, but may work for the individual. And they just shared all of those concepts with me. Now, the only problem for me was I didn't have an immediate family, a wife and children, but I had my sister, I had my mom, and I had a niece and nephew. And bouncing ideas off of them would always come back a very, 100% supportive, you can do it.
Right.
I know you can do it, versus any type of critical thinking questions or any devil's advocate questions. Right. What if this or what if that? So that's what I would do to use that time to go talk to the financial planners, because then they would set up, a spreadsheet or just some notes. What are the pros and cons of what you're thinking, Dexter, and what can we do to better improve this scenario, and how can we try to avoid the pitfalls? Once those key pieces start to become a part of your familiarity, it then becomes something you really see yourself being involved with, and you start taking those steps, and you start realizing, I don't feel the fear anymore. I don't feel that stress anymore. Like you said, Calvin said, you can always go back to what you were doing.
Right.
I can always hate my job. I can always know I can clock in where I came from. But if I really wanted to test the boundaries of my faith, I have to step out on that faith. And that's what most of the speakers you've had to come and talk to us and bless us with their stories, most of them, that is a key commonality of most of them, is stepping out on faith, having supportive people to help push us and usher us into that next level, and having a good supportive net of friends who have a variety of areas that they're involved in. Now, we can't always have that scenario, but one or two people have always been there for you, and you have to take their energy and you got to run with it, because we have a time expiration. You're going to have lots of energy at certain points in your life, and you should use that energy to try and bless others, but to also try and manage to build and bless yourself. Just like they say on an airplane.
Put the oxygen mask on yourself.
Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then proceed to place the oxygen mask on others. Because if you can't find a way to put oxygen in yourself, but yet you do so much to help others, the oxygen will run right out of you. And you then will have years have gone by, and you realize you really didn't take those chances. You really didn't see to it that your idea and your dreams were developed. And no one's responsibility is that other than yours. Yeah. So those are some of the key components. I've listened to a lot of the Empower Series YouTube videos, and most of those stories are very, very similar. But all we mostly can do is see where they are now. We home in on what we see visually now to think their road may not have been as difficult. And therefore, then we say, how do I get there? Now you've made this whole task insurmountable. But if you break it down and you take it step by step, but if you have the right people, and that's a financial advisor, that's an insurance agent, that's an accountant, that's a professor, or someone in your family to help you kind of break it down and slow yourself up, it really becomes a very big beneficial effort to just have that conversation.
So I like the fact that you look at the Empower Series YouTube videos.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're very busy and you're not able to come. And like with most people, you may be too busy to come on a Saturday.
Sure.
So for example, tomorrow we're doing an event at the Houston Area Urban League in Houston at the Palm Center.
Sure.
And we're going to be talking about first-time home buyers. So if you know anybody in Houston, or if you're in Houston, come. It's from 10 to 12. We're going to be there on the second Saturday of every month, talking about something. So this month is home purchasing. Next month is going to be physical fitness. And every month after that, we're going to have a new topic. But if you're not able to come, we record the programs and we put them on YouTube.
Sure.
So some of the things that you mentioned about vision, a speaker who spoke in 2017, Dr. Nicole LaBeach, said that vision is about visibility, not feasibility. So when you're sharing your vision with someone, it's about your ability to see yourself with your faith living out your vision, as opposed to someone saying, well, how are you going to do that?
Right.
You ain't doing that now.
Right.
So you have to have people around you who are going to encourage you, like your family and your supporting friends. And then another speaker who spoke also in 2017, Munson Steed talked about you should have a collaboration board. The who's around you, your financial advisor, your accountant, your attorney, people around you that can help you take your vision and help you take that next step with encouraging you. So you have financial advisors and other people who are putting some critical plans together to help you take the next steps. And so these videos and these speakers, they'll have a common theme, but it could be your collaboration board initially. Absolutely. If you're not currently in an environment that that is supportive, use the Empower series to be that.
Sure. Still, again, Cliff, you're trying to break down systematic negative images, negative conversations, family dynamics that have made many of us take short steps trying to find that successful platform. And stepping out of the box becomes somewhat of a challenge because we sometimes continue to take advice from where we've come from. Right. I always thought, I know my mother did everything she could to make sure we were taken care of, had shelter, and could leave the nest. But truly, when I first went off to college, it was her who really had the hardest time letting go. And so emotionally, it worked on me to almost not take that step to go to college. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I left to go to college, I had only an acceptance letter to that university. I had nowhere to live. I was that driven. I believed in myself that much. And I knew there are enough good people that I'm sooner or later going to meet someone that will help me get to this place that I certainly didn't know what I was going to do, but I just did not have time to fear the unknown. I knew I can make shelter for myself. I can find a way. And as God is my witness, things started to fall into place. Time I arrived into Denton, Texas, things that I said I knew I could do. I can go to school. I can do the work, and I know I can comprehend topics. I can comprehend the lesson plan for different subject categories, but I just didn't know where I was going to live. That to me shared with me in my own self, fear will not be my enemy. I will embrace it because I am not afraid to sleep on the ground. I'm not afraid to sleep under a bleacher. I'm not afraid to take that chance on me. And if I couldn't share that with someone else who's at that place where they're trying to figure out, how do I do this, with that absolute sense of fear of failure, in order to succeed, you must understand and know what it feels like to fail so that you go back to the drawing board and you redraw it up to figure it out another way. Because I took that step, I'm here today, but it's just my testimony, and it's just a matter of, I believed in myself the whole time, but I was afraid. I didn't know if I could do it. I really felt, even when I got into college, the fear started because I had all of these conversations with family members who had never gone to college, who just felt, you're going to waste your time the next 4 years when you could get a job now, and in 4 years you could be making $16 an hour. Right. Why are you going to go up there and get them folk all your money? Mm-hmm. But then you meet this other side, the dreamers, the developers, the bankers, the lawyers, the doctors, and you ask yourself, how do I become one of these people to help my community? How do I become one of these personalities to help another child, to help my fellow man, to help my beautiful women of the world that I may encounter, that I could be supportive of? Mm-hmm. How do I find a way to be one of those pillars in a community? And so listening to their stories about college gave me the reason why I knew I had to go. I had to go. And my first night, it was 9 p.m. in the Student Union Center, and I was prepared to sleep in the Student Union Center. I was prepared, Cliff. Mm-hmm. And truly, my story is something beautiful, and it's very inspiring because 3 classmates from my high school walked through the doors of that Student Union Center at 9:30 p.m. Never forget it. They came to mail letters to their parents just to let them know they made it safely. Thank you for the checks you sent. And they saw me and asked simply, where are you staying? What dorm are you in? well, I'm waiting on them to figure it out. You know, you're embarrassed, you
Right.
feel very uncomfortable.
Lying.
But the young lady who knew me well, she knew I had something was wrong because I wasn't myself. And they offered me to stay with them for a semester until I got myself. Didn't even ask any specific questions. So therefore, right there, if I took a leap of faith, something magical could happen.
Yeah.
And something did magical happen.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. Just listening to your story inspires me. And so while you were talking about that, I was thinking, so what are you doing now, man? What's your stretch vision today?
The vision still is to continuously look at residential real estate. I have now up to 7 properties across from Houston to Dallas that I manage and that I have residential tenants in. But I'm also interested in commercial real estate. I'm also interested in looking at franchising. I'm also interested in partnering with new and upcoming ventures, whether it's something of an application that someone's built, whether it's a small company, just looking at some of the other dreamers that may want to partner to try to figure out what could I strategically help them with, because my background is research. So looking at some of the areas where I could help impact them, what could I barter of my services to help them buy my sense of equity into their venture? Or still again, looking for new creative ideas that could help push myself to another level where I can bring others in that could sustain creating wealth and creating something of a platform that gives us a chance to teach and educate the community that helps other young people find their way through the weeds, through the challenges, through the negative conversations. I just try to find myself more energized by listening to different conversations, attending different meetings, going to the Chamber of Commerce, going to the local city officials, and just having a conversation about where are some of the deficits in the city, where are some of the challenges in the city that could very well be an opportunity. But the real estate part got me here, and I'm going to stay true to that because I do enjoy it. It's been very good to me. But there are also so many other opportunities that I think, as I've learned more about what other people do, it's given me another platform to try to figure out what else could I be involved in. So I'm on the grind. I'm still trying to make sure I understand more about those areas. So I do some of the research, but I also meet with other persons who are trying to also do it, so that if the opportunity comes and you try to pull the trigger, great, I'm ready. But in the meantime, I work very hard to try to make sure I build my savings back up, because as I invest in one real estate property, that takes a lot of the free flowing cash out of your situation. So then you try to build back up. So I've been doing this now. It's been 21 years, and still again the binder that you created for me when we first met still is a blueprint and a stepping stone for me to go back, look at, and kind of get myself re-energized to knowing this works. I just have to go back at it. And after working with my realtor for 21 years and working with my real estate manager who does the financing and the team of contractors over 21 years, to be able to move in and out of it's been about 14 properties overall. But some of them have done so well that it's helped push me into this platform now. So I'm just trying to make sure I know how I can be of service to my community, and when the time comes, be able to start systematically blessing others, because I've set up something that comes in on a routine or a monthly basis because of the hard work I put in back then. So I'm still trying to make sure I create that kind of effort, because I do want something in my name. I do want something in my family's name that I can leave as a legacy to say that I too wanted to contribute. I'm not fearful of those who contribute multiple millions of dollars to a cause. It only takes $1. It only takes a few dollars to help someone else, because it doesn't take much, Cliff. And if that is a conversation, if that's a push, if that's support, if that's a scholarship, if that's whatever it may be, I just want to make sure I'm in place to be able to do that.
Well, I'm glad you talked about your team. So you have a real estate agent, you have contractors, you have
mortgage broker.
You also have a property management company.
I worked with a property management company. I do most of it myself, but but in Houston it's very difficult to get there regularly. But I also have a team there.
So I'm glad you talked about that, because in the workshop that we're having here, which is on the third Saturday of every month, and then the Friday before, we're talking about building your team of professionals if you're going to buy your first house,
Sure.
or if you're going to buy your second house.
Sure.
So that would include a real estate agent, that would include your mortgage broker, that would include an inspector, that would include an insurance agent.
Sure.
Just the basic team of professionals. And if you don't have your team, that would be a good workshop for you to come to.
Correct.
If you can't come to it, it will be recorded and put on YouTube to watch. But it's so important to have your team of professionals, your collaboration board that you're working with in any specific area to build.
Let's make sure I give you some more kudos, Clifton, because not only with that team, I do have an attorney. That's something you introduced me to. And I still work with an accountant that I had in Denton that you asked me when I first met you, do I have anyone helping me to manage this vision that I have? And when the windfall starts and when the things become complex, do you have anyone to help you manage this? Yep, I have an accountant. I've been working with him 15 years. And those are some of the key components that help to take care of me, because you shared with me, you're not sure the liabilities you may face until you're sued. Right. And when we met Kyle, Kyle shared a story with me that scared the daylights out of me. And I said, "Oh, Kyle, whatever your fee is, I'll pay it," because it's protected me.
Right.
Now, my mentor would say another saying: nothing ever fails when you're backed up and you have everything in place. It's when you don't have those things in place that the skies fall out. Yeah. So I remember when I was a college student, and he put me on his insurance policy when I was driving his mother. And his, I guess it was like a family friend. She was up in her 80s. I'd take them to the doctor. I was driving for him because as a full professor, he just didn't have the time. Mm-hmm. So I didn't understand that, Cliff. He said, "Son, I have you on my insurance policy. I need your social security number, and I need your, all your information." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because if I don't cover you while you're driving my family around, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence that if something happens to you, comes back on both of us." And so when you walked me into the office that Kyle works, and now he has his own practice, and to see that process where he worked at another,
and then he stepped out on his
own. Yeah, he stepped out on his own. Yeah. And so those are just the pieces of what all you've tried to share with us, all the pieces you've talked to me about when I first met you, and now here we are involved with people who not only worked at organizations when we started, but now are stepping out on their own, representing their own cause, their own vision, their own directive. Mm-hmm. So I've kept and maintained those relationships because having that protection has made me feel that much more comfortable. When I sleep at night, I know I'm okay. And making sure I stay in touch with those that, keep me updated on the latest regulations, keep me updated on the latest residential laws. All of those pieces help me sleep at night to know that I'm not only trying to move myself forward, but I'm making sure I protect the base, and I'm covering the persons who live in the properties and making sure they're taken care of. So those pieces have been absolutely insurmountable. But it's that binder you created for me, man. And it was an assignment.
That was a big binder.
That was a big binder, but it was an assignment you gave me. Every time we would meet, you'd always say, "I want you to bring your binder and have these items either read or provide this information for me so we can do updating."
So you know what I'm doing now? So the Empower Series is that big binder, y'all.
Yeah.
Because every month we are addressing one topic that we address with you.
Sure.
And I realized that everybody was going to come to me.
Sure.
Everybody was going to walk into my office
Sure.
to meet with me to talk about financial planning. Sometimes people who walked into my office were in such a state, my employer at that time wasn't paying me to work with them.
Sure.
But yet they needed help, so I didn't turn them away.
Right.
But I felt like I could do much more in creating the Empower Series, where in every community, every month, you can come together, surround yourself with like-minded people, learn about budgeting, learn about visioning and goal setting, learn about life insurance, learn about how to prepare to go to college. Not everybody can afford to put money into a 529 plan. So how do you prepare to go to college and have them pay you to go to college?
Correct.
Right? Let's start doing that with our middle school students and our high school students, so that when they go to college, they don't have to come out of college with debt.
Correct.
And they don't have to feel like it's not possible for me to go if I don't have money to pay for it. And then we talk about estate planning. We talk about entrepreneurship. So every month we're going to talk about some area and some topic that is part of that binder way we talked
Absolutely.
about.
Absolutely.
And that's and everybody has access to that.
Sure.
Everybody has access to that, no
Yeah.
matter how much money you have.
Correct. And I think that's one of the misnomers people continuously play out in their head is that they think they don't have enough to start. I'm not in a position to do something. If you have $5, it would behoove you to have something that helps your family or your loved ones to identify how would you like those $5 spent.
Right.
And until you have people to ask you those questions, some of us never really focus on that responsibility. And so through that process, Cliff, what you've done and how you've created this truly has been a blessing. And I'm very, very happy and honored to be a part of this. And it gives me more energy. It gives me more to do so that I can come and be a part to talk about this, because there are so many people through you, your introductions, and people we work with that now are a part of the bigger picture.
Well, here's what I know. Nothing of significance. This is what Dr. George Frazier said. Nothing of significance can ever happen by alone.
Sure.
You need a team.
Sure.
So we need people like you. We need people who come to the Empower Series. We need people like the people who donate. We need people who are involved with companies like Comerica Bank, that's dedicated, and their focus is on relationships and helping individuals and businesses succeed.
Sure.
And other organizations that have the like cause. So I think if people with like mind and like purpose come together, all things are truly possible.
Absolutely.
So whatever vision you have, it's an illusion that we're sitting in a position of lack. Do you have your library card?
Sure.
For some reason, people feel like if you got to go buy a book, you got to go to Barnes & Noble or something like that.
Right.
But the library card is like the most, in my opinion, one of the most underutilized resources there is. In Los Angeles, I used to love going to the library and reading. And I moved downtown now, and I just went to the main library and got my Dallas library card, from the downtown branch. So I'm very excited about that, man. And so as we're about to wrap here, I just want to say, man, thank you for dropping some knowledge and sharing your wisdom with us. Is there any parting comments you want to make before we wrap this up, our conversation?
Cliff, it still becomes the time is, to reiterate, the time is now. You can't continue to put off any objectives that could help benefit you, your loved ones, and your future. You have to do it now. And the service and the effort that you have been providing, you are one of many people that continuously try to help provide free service. And for those who need it, to not take advantage of it is truly a travesty. It's now. It's now that people have to act, because the economy is changing rapidly. Things have improved tremendously. The cost of things have gone up tremendously. And it's now that you have to take advantage of opportunities like the Empower Series to help us figure out and navigate our way through a lot of these life's, many twists and turns. But with you, my brother, I have been truly amazed at what you've done to create this, and I'm just very thankful to be a part of it. I really am.
Well, I'm just trying to, I'm being a good steward of the idea that I have.
Sure.
We have so many ideas that we don't act on. Dennis Kimbrough says that we get at least 3 or 4 ideas a year that if we were bold and daring and courageous enough to take action on, will make us financially independent.
Sure.
I watch the YouTube channel a lot. It always inspires me. Zig Ziglar said that, he says motivation is a lot like taking a bath. He recommends that we do it daily.
It'd be nice.
and when I turned 57 last year, or actually when I turned 50, I started thinking again about, Dennis says that we're not guaranteed how much time we have left. And you don't want to know either. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure whatever amount of time you have left, you want to do something significant. And I want to build a sustainable organization, nonprofit organization like the Empower Series that's going to continue to inspire, give hope, give education, and connecting people to free resources that are available out there to help them take the next step to achieve their goal, so that when I don't wake up anymore, the Empower Series continues. Absolutely. And it's not all me. It's really a team that puts the Empower Series together. It's the A&E Media Group here. Sure. It's, like I said, the individual donations from individuals, and then from charitable foundations like the Charitable Foundation of Comerica Bank and the other employees that support the Empower Series, and people like you who come. So continue to watch. I would say spread the word. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would like to have 1 million followers, Then we can really make a bigger impact. We're going to be in every major city. So my vision is that we can be in every major city, in every major country, because everybody needs hope. Everybody needs inspiration, and everybody needs more education to really connect to the existing resources that are out there, the abundance of resources out there, to help us manifest our dream. So again, Dex, thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
All right. And we're going to continue doing this. So tune in again on Friday. We'll put more content out there that's going to give you hope, inspiration, and education to connect you with existing resources. So much thanks, peace, and love.
Peace.